What's up, guys? It's our wrestling podcast coming back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious, along with Justice Little Package and Craig the British Bulldog, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Today's topic, the legacy of AJ Styles. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Man, I can't not enunciate today. For video, check us out on YouTube.
Sorry.
I know. At our wrestling channel, and look to your left for several other options that Jesse Poo has given you.
Fuck off.
And he would just be tickled if you give him a follow on Instagram at O.W.P 2019. Guys, I just have to tell you, I wasn't joking, but I was joking. I thought my wife was going to come on for about a 5-minute critique on the blowout of AJ Styles. It was very important because that's all we talk about in this house is AJ's blowout. To the point where I legitimately did see, I almost shared it with you guys. I did share it with the family. Someone said AJ Styles cannot retire until he shares his hair regimen with us. So it's very important. The dude has some of the best hair in the business, which is really funny considering the majority of his career. He had no hair. He was very short cut. Yeah, there's several sides to AJ Styles over the years, and hair is just a little bit of that. But almost to the point where my wife almost started an Instagram account for AJ Styles hair. She was really close to doing it.
That's awesome. I bet there's enough photos. You totally should.
Yeah. When I first saw him, I've said it a bunch of times about ECW that I'm not going to claim, to be a super ECW fan. Those fans that discovered ECW in 94, 95, 96, 97, they deserve that glory. What a special place to be when you kind of discover a promotion like that. I'm not saying NWA TNA was the same, but, after WCW was bought, as a fan, I was really depressed because I've been a big fan of competition for a long time. And just not even competition, just having a second promotion other than WWE. Even though WWF is what got me into wrestling, I loved WCW. And I loved the being able to flip back and forth and just see two different takes on pro wrestling. I loved it. So when WCW was bought out and Jeff Jarrett started TNA in 2002, I didn't get a chance to watch it. And then Dave and the three of us, our mutual friend Nathan, would get these weekly pay-per-views because TNA started weekly pay-per-views. They didn't have a weekly time slot like for a Dynamite or a Nitro or a Raw. You had to buy their shit for I think it was like $5 or something. I was like, maybe it was $9.99 or something every week. And you bought it. And that's how Jeff Jarrett had to get some kind of cash flow going. And then he would eventually got a TV deal. And then, it was TNA still around today. Went through a lot of ups and downs. One of the first guys that I gravitated towards when I first started watching it was AJ Styles. I just really, even though I watched WCW all the time, he was there in WCW for just a brief time in their dying days in the Cruiserweight division, but I didn't remember him specifically. But you started really noticing him in NWA TNA in 03, 04, 05. That's where I first fell in love with AJ. And he was a guy that I saw, like when I saw RVD and I saw him do things and I was like, okay, he's another bridge. He's another one of these guys that we're going to look back on and be like, he started doing fill in the blank and bridged it, and now everybody does it. Hayabusa, RVD, those guys were these pioneers that when you watch them in the early days, some of it was pretty rough. But now everybody copies it seamlessly, and it's a part of just the fabric of wrestling. And you see these guys, certain guys. AJ was one of those guys that not only broke the cruiserweight barrier, but also just wrestling in general. So many fucking wrestlers. And I know it's in the note somewhere, Dave, where some of today's stars always highlight his TNA X division with Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels and everything. They blew our minds with things that they were doing in the early 2000s. And AJ, that's the AJ that I remember. I love his WWE run, don't get me wrong. But and I'm so glad he made it there. But I think as a fan, I was just glad that he made it there so he could say he made it there. And he's overachieved, by the way. He's won the WWE Championship. He's won other secondary titles, tag titles. AJ's been great. But I will always remember him as TNA AJ. He should finish his career in TNA. And I mean that not because I don't agree that WWE is the biggest promotion you could ever be a part of, but I think that he is TNA and he deserves to be there to say goodbye. So we're recording this the day before he's facing Gunther. By the time I release this, that Royal Rumble will be a couple weeks past. So who knows if they're going to swerve us or if it is his last WWE match or whatever. He's got more in the tank. He'll probably tour the world if he does leave and go to, TNA, New Japan, and all where Dave, you'll get on that he has lineage there. But AJ's great. What do you say? What do you say about someone like him? It's just he's one of these guys that we will all look back. And wrestlers already look back on him and go, he was the bridge. Because I saw him do what he did, I was like, oh, I get this. I can do this. And then they pick up on it.
I'd say AJ to TNA is like Sting to WCW in a sense.
I don't think that's a bad comparison at all. And ironically, Sting was in TNA as well. But I mean,
absolutely was. But
and if honestly we're talking about what we want, if what he wants is to kind of just ride in the sunset and never wrestle again, I'm fine with that too. Because honestly, just when you were talking about TNA and him wanting to finish there, related to what you said was like he's already been having his retirement with his last 10 opponents. What if his goodbye to TNA was him kicking off their TV deal?
Yeah, that was good point on that, Craig. And then he went Bound for Glory this last year. He went out and said something as well. Yeah. So he's been back on TNA, not to wrestle, but he kicked off their AMC thing, which is a big deal for them. When they were on Spike, that was a big deal, and Dixie Carter fucked shit up. And then they went into a big depression. It's been a long road for them, dude. The fact that TNA is still around is amazing. So the fact that it's still around and it's affiliated with WWE is the perfect retirement for him to go there and say goodbye and have one last match.
Right.
I think to your point, Craig, yes, it's a fine storybook closing if he ends it now, but he's got to maybe have one last match in TNA. Maybe,
Yeah. I hope so.
Yeah. I don't think AJ has any.
Whatever he wants, I'm on board with. I would
great.
Like he can go so many different ways, and he gets to send off he
do
wants.
Whatever
I hope he does.
I
hope he does want to finish in TNA and have it come.
I would love that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's jump into the origins and the early breakthrough. In '98, he actually debuted on the independent scene. Then that's when we first caught him. I'm not sure exactly where, Jess, but. He did appear in WCW in 2001, right towards the end. Also, kind of like with the Christopher Daniels situation where he kind of tried out, kind of flubbed it, didn't work out. But then on June 19th of 2002, he made his TNA debut, and he had some really nice feuds there. The early technical showcase was with Jerry Lynn. That was a great feud. And then there was Low Key. That was the X Division Identity feud. The X Division was, in my opinion, so cool. They found something different. They found a way to make something different for what didn't have to necessarily be cruiserweights, but they could be high flyers or they could be high technical. There was just a different division to get different guys promoted, and that's what I loved about the X Division. It kind of tinkered to smaller guys, but it didn't have to.
There was no weight limits, and that's the thing. It's so funny. Right. Like, we were talking in Unscripted about Bruce Pritchard, and he's just out of touch. It doesn't discount the knowledge that Bruce Pritchard has, but Bruce Pritchard did work for TNA for a while when he got let go by WWE. Right. And his whole big thing, and he always fights with Conrad about it, is like, what was the X Division? I don't get the romance that all you fans have with X Division. I'm like, A, that's why you're out of touch. B, there are some things in wrestling that when we organically tell you that we like it, just please fucking go with it, man. Just not everything has to be the WWE way. Not everything has to work. And whatever Jarrett discovered, and I'm not trying to give Jarrett, it was the athletes that were in the X Division that made it so important. Low Key is another guy that a lot of people, he's a little kind of unstable. But Low Key was one of the early guys as well. An amazing athlete, just awesome. Jerry Lynn helped kind of do it. AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, everything. There was no division. What's the X Division? It's not the heavyweight. But what is it? Is it cruiserweight? No. It's the X Division. They just do crazy shit.
The X Division.
And we understood it. The fans that were on board, we were like, okay, I get that.
You don't have to explain.
I understand.
You know what else? Another good example.
Do you know what the X Division was to me? The X Division to me was the progression of professional wrestling. It was the type of wrestling that Vince didn't like and the bigger people didn't like because they didn't understand. It's just a spot fest. It's a fucking spot fest. It took an entire voice of people that were like, look, we don't not like the WWE or WCW, but when you guys suck, you really suck. So we want something that like that it was almost like this New Japan influence. And Ring of Honor, same thing. Like it was this. We're going to review a Wrestle War in a little bit, where we're going to watch women's wrestling from Japan. And like it back then, it was go, 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 go. It was a different type of wrestling. That's all it was. The X Division, it wasn't a division that was defined by weights. To me, it was defined, it was a genre. It was, no, you need to stop. Like, you guys did great shit, and you came out of the Depression with real TV. NWO was real. The Attitude Era was a little bit edgy, and it was all that. And then when that got old, it's like, the product of pro wrestling will always carry pro wrestling into the next genre or the next decade or the next whatever phase, whatever it's going to be. And none of the big promoters, they hated it. Vince hated it. I don't like this. This is a bunch of spot shit. It's a bunch of blah, 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 blah. That's all he did. But X Division was this division that said, we're not defined by weight. We're defined by what we do. And that's what it was to me. It was this new wrestling that, by the way, everybody does now. New Japan still does it, even though I think they stole it from New Japan, to be fair. But
and NXT's all about it. Yeah.
In America, it showed us, oh, this is out there. Oh. And then if you watched Ring of Honor, you saw more of it in Ring of Honor. And that's what the X Division was. It was Jeff Jarrett's way of trying to say, hey, we're going to have like your storylines and your soap opera shit and your heavyweights and all that stuff. But we're also going to have this division that sort of it is what wrestling wants to be. It's sort of like the younger guys saying, hey, give us a place to show you what we can do. And by the way, it's everywhere now. It's AEW.
Top rope here, setting up for something. Let's. Yeah! Flash! Landed him! Got the cover. 1, 2, 3! And still, X-Division champion, AJ Styles. He did it! What are we going to see next, guys? AJ Styles pulls it out.
Have to have a second thing. Nobody gives Jarrett credit for that. You could say some of the shit he did was stupid and he booked himself to be champion a lot. Okay, fair enough. But he loved AJ. He loved Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Low-Key, Jerry Lynn. He loved them. And when he saw them, he was like, I need them. I need them here. I don't know what I'm going to do. And then that's when the X Division formed. And Jarrett's like, that's our thing. That's our defining thing. TNA heavyweight
they
champion
had to have
is the
something
champion,
different, right?
But like X Division was separate. Like they were also trying to link with the NWA when TNA first started. So their title was the NWA Heavyweight Championship. They wanted that lineage, but X Division was not. It was a TNA original. The X Division was around before the TNA Heavyweight Championship. It's like it really was the nucleus of TNA, and Jeff Jarrett deserves tons of credit for that, as well as AJ and all the other people. So to your point, Craig, too, he won his heavyweight title before that main event ascension was more of like when they were like AJ's only main event, like he's our guy. But here, yes, he did win a couple NWA heavyweight titles, and
he wins another one in October the same year.
But but he didn't touch it. So did they have the NWA that told? Because he beat Jeff Jarrett in 2004 and then didn't touch it again until 2009.
Possibly. Well, I think you're right, Craig. Yes.
He won it twice in that year, so him and Jeff traded it a couple of times. Yeah. So he won it in June and October of that year, but then it kind of...
I was wondering how often did he go up to that level, or did he stay in the X Division that entire kind of 4 years before he won his first...
I want to say he was more of a hybrid. I think he was both. Like, I think
he was kind of going... he was going back and forth.
Even before the Dixie years, they knew that AJ was something. Yeah. Like, they understood it.
Right. And this
could be the opening from the top. Unbelievable! He hit the spiral down. Spiral down. He won. Count 1, 2. He's down. New champion. New champion. He hit him with the spiral down. He had to go to a move he hasn't used in over 2 years. Who's better than adapting? Who's better than changing his offense on the fly? The Styles Clash, it was countered. The Styles Clash, it was blocked. So you're right, Don. He went to the bag of tricks, and he used the spiral tap, and he has done it. The phenomenal AJ Styles.
Right. And this kind of takes us to he kind of wins again. He goes in December of that same year and he wins the X Division championship again against Chris Sabin. That's 3 X Division championships, and then we get into the Samoa Joe era, which is whoa.
That triple threat match, I put it up against any match today in 2026. Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and AJ Styles blew my dick off. Like in the 2000s.
That wasn't even for a title, was it?
No, it was for the X Division title. Yeah, it was for the X Division.
Oh, was
title.
it X Division? Okay.
And nobody knew what to say. Like I remember all the internet and everything in its infancy at the time was like, I don't know what we just saw, but we saw something. We saw a volcano erupt. Yeah. That's what we saw, and it was just sort of like, I don't know where this fits in, because you still had WWE being the biggest influence, of course, but at the same time, you're like, this belongs. We just don't know where. That's how important TNA was. That's how important AJ
Again,
was.
it's another comparison to ECW. Like you said, like the X Division was its own thing. Like ECW had a thing where you could cheat all the time, but the pinfall, the win had to be fair. Like, it had to be clean. That was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
They almost never had like a weird schmoz finish. Had to have a clean person that went out on top, and that was their rule. It was an unwritten rule, but that was the rule. The X Division was the same way, and this is a game changer. When Samoa Joe comes into the scene here, I can't even explain how they turn wrestling on its ear. It's a big way for such a small federation, if you will. Samoa Joe
the chop to the chest, but the shortcut by Daniels as he caught him, raked the eyes, and then the forearm shot turns it in his favor.
I call it survival right there. Is he going to set him up? He's got him in the Angel's wings, and here it goes.
AJ fights it all.
Now he sends it back. 1, 2, AJ's got it.
Daniels got it. AJ's won the title.
The winner of the match and new X Division champion of the world, the phenomenal AJ Styles.
5-time champion. What a way to counter the Angel's wings. Daniels can't believe it.
Samoa Joe comes in, and he's an X Division guy, but this isn't X Division wrestling he's doing. He's a big dude. He's very agile, but he's punishing. He's super snug. He's a big dude. Like we're talking Walter kind of knife edges. Like he was Walter before we knew who Walter was. Walter was just a baby at this point. And the stuff that he put, this is kind of like, I don't want to say Sting and Vader because that feels unfair, but AJ could give just as much as Joe could give, right? And these matches were unbelievable. Like you said, the triple threat between Daniels, Joe, that you could put that up against any triple threat match and it'll hold up, right? And he wins 3 more X Division championships in a 3-year span, 2 of them in 2005 and another one in 2008. He defeats Petey Williams twice, and then Sheikh Abdul Bashir in 2008. So these matches influenced an entire generation. Rollins, Omega, Ospreay, they all cite this era. They watch this era all the time. This is what defined them. That's a big deal. People like Omega and Rollins and Ospreay saying this was their time. Like that's pretty impressive. And those guys are all on top now. Let's get back into. We're going to start with the TNA Championship. Anything to add to that?
I think it's all correct, and we don't. It's funny, we don't think of AJ as that. Like when you mention those names, like Rollins and Omega, you're like, oh, like yeah, AJ is over 40 years old. Like he looks so good, we don't realize that AJ's in his mid 40s. Like we don't understand that. So it's when people say that, they're like, what? Omega looked up to him? I'm like, yeah, man. Like AJ again debuted on the Indies in '98. Right at the end of the Monday Night Wars, or in the kind of the middle, and then TNA was 02, 03, 04. Like it was very fast order. He's been around that long. That's how long AJ's been. Right. Which makes me feel so fucking old because we still talk about wrestling like Junkyard Dog, who was around in the fucking 80s.
In the 80s, yeah. We're gonna get into the TNA World Championship now, right? So we finally get that going. This is from 2009 to 2013. Gets into that main event set. This is AJ Styles versus Sting. AJ Styles versus Kurt Angle versus Jeff Hardy. The Fortune versus the Immortal Stables. These are huge matches and feuds for AJ. And he wins 2 TNA World Championships in 2009. and then two more 2 years later. So he's basically a total of 4. He defeats Sting in 2009. That's crazy to think about that. I'm sorry, there was 3, and then one is a tag team championship with Daniels. He defeats the British Invasion in 2009. And then
right here. Come on, AJ.
No way. Come on, Bully, get out of the way.
He points right at. This is for you, Dixie.
Bully, get out of the way. Get out of the way, bro. Get out of the way.
Spiral tap. AJ hit the spiral tap. Cover. Earl Hebner counts 1,
No,
2.
no.
Yes, new champion. New champion.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match and new TNA Heavyweight Champion of the World, the phenomenal AJ Styles.
Could be wrong.
that's
Did
ridiculous.
AJ leave TNA for any reason? Was
No.
it just getting smaller and smaller, or did
Yes.
he just want to reinvent
It was
himself?
getting smaller. Dixie fucked up after the Hogan and Bischoff experiment absolutely failed. It drained all of her money.
Right.
And then so
Right.
she was freaking out like towards the end, and I want to say she approached him to take a pay cut, and he said no. Like, I'm at a stage in my career where negative. Like, I was the guy that was here, and I think he basically died on that hill. I've been the guy here the whole time. Because I remember when Hulk and them came in, they put Flair as his manager, and they dressed him up in a Flair robe, and they tried to make him a copy of Flair, and like they just abused AJ, and like it sucked. And then when they tried to save him, they almost made him a copy of Sting. You know, where Sting stayed up in that year against the NWO and was up on the rafters.
Right.
They made when Aces and Eights was actually kind of like popular. People were actually like, "Ooh, Aces and Eights is a good thing." They made him sort of the Sting of that, and then he turned on Aces and Eights at the end and whatever and won the title. But it never caught fire because we all saw it coming, and they were just copying storylines at that point. Who'd have think Hogan and Bischoff copying storylines, and Russo and all them copying storylines.
Let's do it again.
Copying
Let's do it.
storylines that worked a long time ago and then stopped working, but let's just do them again because maybe they might
Right.
work again. You know, that's their whole MO. So unfortunately, AJ had to kind of dance around with that. They did, revere him and put him in the main event picture, but to make him a Ric Flair 2 and all that stuff was just a waste of his fucking time and talent. Like, it really sucked. And to your point, Craig, they got to a point where she's like, "Can you take a pay cut?" He's like, "No." Like, and at that time, the American influence in New Japan was getting bigger, and like there was other places to go after the Hogan and Bischoff experiment failed. So he stayed with it to the bitter end, man. I mean, 2012 and 13 and 14 were not good. Like
They were bitter years, brother. So he goes on the New Japan runs, Ring of Honor runs from 2014 to 2015.
And I don't want to yada past the New Japan stuff. I mean, with the Bullet Club and everything else, like AJ reinvented himself. Like
think about it. AJ versus Okada, AJ versus Tanahashi. The Bullet Club internal wars, it's the closest thing probably to the NWO that actually was successful you're ever going to get. And the Bullet Club was still strong until late last year. I think it finally completely disbanded.
No, they're literally December 31st.
Allow me to introduce to you the greatest professional wrestler on God's green earth. The Bullet Club's own, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion, the phenomenal one, AJ Styles.
Let me just say this before we get started.
What made them
they
really good?
They did it right, basically. That's what they did.
they were just young people that were hungry, and that's what it was. And
That's true.
you know, again, like New Japan needed that shot in the arm, and they got it. You know, and then fucking Tony Khan started AEW and purged everybody. But I mean, like, which ultimately hurt everybody. But yeah, it's like Bullet Club is a big deal, like because it made it. It helped this foreign entity that we had always grown up with. WCW tried so hard all the time to make New Japan an influence, but without them being around on a regular basis, it didn't really work out because we'd only see them, sparingly. With social media and streaming and all that stuff, we could watch clips from the Bullet Club and the American influence on New Japan. And we went and saw a show, Dave, in Long Beach of when New Japan had Omega and had Cody Rhodes and had the Young Bucks and had before AEW. And we were like, dude, this is great, you know? So AJ was really a big part of that to help build the American influence of New Japan, which they are sorely lacking now, which is why New Japan isn't such a big influence anymore in America, because once AEW started, it sort of divided the pie. But anyway, that's a different subject. But no, AJ's time there with Okada and everybody else is also as legendary. He needed to leave TNA, and it just backs up my philosophy of you need to go. Sometimes you just need to go. And it's fine if you go. It's okay, Edge. If Edge go, I know Edge is way later in his career, but if you go, it's okay. Like, it's fine. Go. Like,
it won't.
do it.
It's not the end of the world. Yeah. And
if you are an AJ Styles or a Sasha Banks or an Edge or whatever, you will absolutely find a home because you are undeniable. So go. Like, absolutely go.
Yeah.
And make us talk about the Bullet Club. Make us talk about you there. Do it. Like, it's awesome.
Make us go to Hot Topic and then see Bullet Club t-shirts out of nowhere. We're like, why are these Hot Topic shirts?
A non-WWE company was influencing other popular retailers and making us buy their shit there. Awesome. Amazing.
Yeah.
Pro Wrestling
super
tees.
cool.
You know?
So, yeah, I mean, AJ goes on a championship tear here at this time. In less than a year, he pulls off several titles. The IWGP Intercontinental Championship. He defeats Tanahashi there. A second Intercontinental Championship against Nagata. He defeats him. Wins a Tag Team Championship with Tanahashi, defeating Tenkozy. Am I saying that correctly? Might not be saying that right. Jess will correct me. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship against Tanahashi. Beats him in May of 2015. And another championship just a month later against Okada. And then the Ring of Honor World Championship, he defeated Jay Briscoe May 2nd of that same year. A lot of titles were changing on, but I mean that's a lot of gold, man, in just less than less than a year and a half, really. It's impressive. Like, he just went on an absolute tear, and if you can be successful in these arenas, you can be successful anywhere, and that's what leads us to the ultimate validation. He finally breaks into the WWE era. We all knew he was coming. Didn't know exactly when. We had an idea, but everyone's like, "Oh, are they gonna send AJ down? Is he gonna go NXT?" And in hindsight, that would have been the stupidest thing ever. There was no need for it. The guy can do anything and everything. Like I said, I can only think of a few people off the top of my head that came out and did not have to go into developmental after these independent scenes. AJ's one of them. Cody's another one. They understand the business. They understand the story work. They understand everything around it. When AJ came into WWE, he was the most well-rounded version of himself you can possibly think of. So he debuts January 24th of 2016. It's his Royal Rumble debut. And September of that year, he gets his first WWE World title.
Just kicked him low! Low blow! Oh no! Styles Clash! Referee missed the low blow! AJ Styles has done it! Here is your winner, and the new WWE World Champion, AJ Styles! We talked about a career-defining moment beating John Cena. This is a career-making moment as well.
It's huge. And when they were bringing him in, they had plans to put the title on him right away and hold it for a pretty gosh darn long time, right? He defeats the feuds. Career-defining. John Cena and AJ was way better than it ever should have been. Dean Ambrose versus AJ. It's great stuff. Daniel Bryan, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. You can argue that AJ helped send some of those guys to a higher level. You can wonder where Roman would be without AJ.
And we forget his first feud when he first came in was Jericho.
Yeah, that's right. Before Jericho went on his way to AEW. That's wild. They're kind of like, hey, see you later. Kind of passing through. But championship wins there. He wins another championship on September 11th of 2016. He defeated Dean Ambrose. Takes a United States championship from Kevin Owens in 2017. Another championship in November of said year. He defeats Jinder Mahal. You kind of forget about him. He had a great run. Jinder was great. I thought he had a fantastic run with his world title stuff. That worked out really well. Another United States championship against Daniel Bryan.
So that was his last heavyweight title was 2017. So
against Jinder. Yeah.
If he can beat me, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then in 2020 gets another United States championship victory against Andrade. He gets the Raw Tag Team Championship with Omos. Honestly,
dude,
this is underrated.
I love
him. I loved him in rated.
You're talking about a veteran teaching this big guy how to be calm, how to whatever. You don't think AJ had a huge influence on his career? Almost the greatest wrestler of all time, by the way. What fun. And we saw them at SummerSlam. I saw them live at SummerSlam in 2021, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
What a phenomenal way to kick things off on Monday Night Raw with the brand new Raw Tag Team Champions. There's been a lot of anticipation for the return of Omos and AJ Styles since WrestleMania, and now the Raw Tag Team Champions are here.
Yeah, no, it was, they were fantastic. And they defeated the New Day, April of 2023. So, So just to kind of sum it up, I mean, he's been around. He's kind of like, to your point, he's been wrestling everybody that he's wanted to wrestle in this last year, which still leads me to believe he's probably gonna go, and he's gonna go around the world, which would be really fun. But key feuds, we got Styles versus Daniel, Styles versus Samoa Joe, Styles versus Okada. Those kind of the Okada one to me gets overlooked because everybody talks about Omega Okada so much because that shit was so fire back in those days. That's what kind of put New Japan back on the map. But AJ Styles was also a big part of that, you know. And there were several other things too. There were
I didn't mean to kind of. I had to tighten the notes up a little bit. You know, he was in Ring of Honor right around the time they went TNA as well. So AJ was in Ring of Honor as well for a little bit. So I don't want to diminish his influence there.
Yeah, his stuff with Cena was, like I said, way better than it should have been. The stuff with Daniel Bryan, fantastic. Where do you guys rank him? That's the question. Oh, you got the short hair of the picture, Jess. That's funny.
Do I know?
You got AJ.
Well, because that's my AJ. That's why.
Yeah.
That's a tough question. We're the top. He's not on Rushmore. Top 10 of all time. Oof.
Well, I think Craig, not. Like, I almost think that I know that we do the Rushmore for topics a lot, you know, just for funsies, but I don't think it's appropriate anymore. I mean, as more time goes on, you're going to be, you know, having a group of 20 wrestlers that influence wrestling, and you know what I mean, like carry it into the next decade, the next generation, or whatever. I mean, I put him up there like with a Jericho type, where he didn't care if he was the number one guy in the big promotion or they wanted to move on from him. He was like, see ya. I mean, I know it was a little different. He was TNA and then he went to WWE, but like AJ didn't care. Jericho doesn't care. Like, he goes wherever. Oh, I'm going to be a big deal in New Japan. No big deal. And I think that, to me, him and Jericho are similar in that. So it's ironic that Jericho was his first real feud in WWE in 2016, because I think they're the same. They love pro wrestling, and they want to be good pro wrestlers, and they want
to tell great stories too.
Yeah, some pro wrestlers get into WWE and like, well, I can't leave here, and I have to get to the top of WWE because that's my goal. Their goal, I don't think necessarily. I mean, it's a goal to be WWE champion. I'm not suggesting that they don't appreciate that. I'm just saying that they were like, no, I want to do it all. I want to influence my ability and like my style everywhere. Like Jericho and AJ are the same way. They had no fear. You know, Cody to a lesser extent in a weird way. But like, they just didn't care if they were out of WWE. That's fine. Like, and he could have went from TNA to WWE. He didn't want to. AJ. He went to New Japan. He went to, you know, like, he decided I want to do other things before I go, and then he goes into WWE in 2016 and does amazing. You know, so and he is a short guy. Again, I hate to say that, right? But like at the same time, he is a small guy. He's a short guy, AJ. You know, you see him standing up against Randy Orton, you're like, oh my god, like, or he's standing up against Gunther. Gunther fucking has to look down at him. You know, but he makes you forget about the size difference because he's so talented and good.
He wrestles big too, yeah.
So yeah, Craig, I think you're right. I think that it's not fair to say a Rushmore anymore. It's just more of a group of 20. I think he belongs in there.
I'd put him in my top 10. I think it's easy. Whenever you can say
he's a bridge, he's a bridge.
Yeah, he's a bridge. But if you can say he's the face of one major, national or world company, like if he is TNA, if you think of one person in TNA, you always think AJ Styles. That's a top 10 guy. That's a top 10 guy easily. I would argue at this point you can't even call. You have a harder time calling Hogan. If I think WWE, I don't think Hogan anymore. So and maybe that'll change over time, but he is the face of TNA, and I don't know if that's ever going to change. I just don't know if it will.
He's he's a bridge. I think we should do a wrestling. I think we should do a topic called the bridges, where it's like you have these people that they weren't the Hogans or the Austins or the Rocks, these big, or the Stings or whatever, like at the top, or the Flairs, but like they were like these important bridges that you needed for wrestling to progress. And I think AJ Styles is a big ass bridge.
Oh, he pushed the business forward.
Yeah.
He undoubtedly pushed the business forward, especially in a technical sense.
It's the most important things usually happen. The most important things in pro wrestling that I've learned as a fan usually happens in the down periods. I think that's when you see those bridges. And that's when you see them figure it out. Oh, how do we? Oh, and then they lift out of the hole and everything. So I think that AJ Styles was one of those bridges for sure. On this last Saturday Night's Main Event, he kind of closed the book with Shinsuke. He had a great match with Shinsuke in New Japan, and they had man, what a great classic that they had on Saturday Night's Main Event to define both their careers. So if he is ending his career and Shinsuke as well, it was one of the most perfect matches I've ever seen.
That match I hear has been a great match, and it makes you wonder what happened with their best of three. Everybody just really did not like those finishes. The double.
I'm glad that they got to end it on Saturday Night's Main Event the way they did, because it was more their New Japan style. Because their WrestleMania 34, we were in New Orleans and saw their first match.
Yeah.
They just didn't click. It never worked. It's really unfortunate.
I think when you've wrestled someone for so long in a certain style, and then WWE they do make you change things, and they made them. I think that there was a part of them that wanted just to do it their style, and they were told not to.
To your point, Dave, I think that their Saturday Night's Main Event match was kind of what they wanted to do. They did a lot of
it was their New Japan
stuff.
Tribute,
like he would shoot, and then he'd catch it and kind of throw it, and they just it was hard, strong style knee strikes. It was at their own pace. I'm sure they didn't have a lot of say in their WrestleMania match and how it was produced. Yeah. I'm sure it felt off for them.
Why would that be, Craig? I wonder why.
Oh no.
No, that shit's crazy. Don't swallow bullets. Don't throw bullets. You can't catch.
I don't know what that is. No one knows what that is.
You can't catch bullets. It's stupid. Fuck.
Brothers don't fight.
You want to work in Japan? Go to Japan.
It's one of my favorite lines. Brothers don't fight.
Fuck off.
Vince.
But he's great. And if this is it for you, AJ, thanks for everything. If it's not, we'll watch you for the rest of the year, and we'll watch where you go.
I think we're going to just watch him somewhere else. I think that's what's going to happen. But we'll see. We'll find out. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. And for video, check us out on YouTube at our Wrestling Channel. And please give us a follow on the old Instagram at O.W.P 2019. For Jess Craig and myself, this is the O.W.P. Signing off.
Suck my butt.
Have a good one.
Sorry.
Whoa. Have a good one.